Hi everyone, it's Jerry. I have an instructive game to share with you from the late titled Tuesday, held on June 24th, 2025. On the white end, Daniel Naroditsky playing against Magnus Carlsen. Time control for this blitz game, 3+1, with G6, D6, and now C6. Carlsen is playing the rat defense. Now, normally, if an opening is named after an animal, or more precisely in this case a mammal, it's probably not the greatest opening in the world. But with this format, you could get away with a lot of different oddball openings. What's worth noting, Carlsen has played this very setup in a more serious format. Rapid 15+10 against Aryan Tari. Carlsen went on to win that game. All right, we'll see what some of the ideas are with this rat defense. After f4, how to address this trio. e4 is now a hole, immediately pinpointed, d pawn taking a second step, influencing this pawn. Steps up, space for white. h5 from here, there's a grip over g4, paves the way for this post. Also, this knight is now excited about this post on h6. Tucked right behind the pawn, it has two interesting jumps. Now we're 5 moves in. Carlsen has only advanced his pawns so far. How can you get away playing in this fashion? Center's locked. Not an open position. Being behind in development isn't a big deal. There will be plenty of time to play catch up. So let's get some more development in here. Knight f3. Knight now in a pin. Bishop d3, e6. Bad bishop here. Very active, bad bishop. Outside of the pawn chain. All but one pawn on a light square here. Black is prepared to exchange bishop for knight at any moment. Normally, it will occur only after questioned with h3. Only after a gap is created, a hole is created on g3. From here, bishop e3, knight h6. Here we go. Where to go with the bishop? Nowhere just yet. You don't have to react to this threat. Carlsen includes knight f5 here, targets the bishop. If bishop takes knight, bishop is there to recapture. Bishop f2. Bishop takes knight now. Queen recaptures. In b4, g4 can be played to dislodge this knight. We have h4, clamping down on that gap, g3. g4 now, we're going to have the capture en passant. White goes with bishop captures knight here, and Carlsen follows the general rule, takes towards the center. You do have your pick. So if this pawn captures, e6 now opens up, and this would be an excellent square for a knight, and it has a pretty smooth path into that post. From that point, it exerts nice pressure on white structure. Do know that taking in this way, you always have to be a little bit concerned about pawn sacrifices with e6, but e6 not working out for white here. Could be collected. It's not like white can quickly capitalize on this half-opened e-file, or maybe occupy e5 after an e6 advance, or g5. You're just not in a position to have e6 be successful here. There is this question then, why wouldn't you want to maybe take in this way and drop the knight on this fantastic square? Well, d5 is a little, not as supported. So there could be an idea now for white connected with a knight. I'm not saying this exact move order, just this general idea. Reposition the knight to e3 and then shoot for b3 and c4, really hammering away at d5. Okay, how it is played here, he takes towards the center. Let's get some more development in here. Queenside castles, knight d7, g4, h takes g, en passant, bishop recaptures, The h-pawn is passed, but still many tempi away from posing a serious threat. From here, b5 is played. If knight b6 eyeing the sensitive c4 square, you're obstructing the b-pawn. The b-pawn plays a role in this game. b5 on board, king b1. Black just a step away from scaring the knight. Doesn't play in this way just yet. If b4 right now, white could consider a forward response. Knight b6 first, the knights compete for a couple squares. With b4 next, forget about knight a4. The knight at this point regroups. Destination d3. Follow up a5. Where is this king going? Nowhere. Staying home. The center is fixed. This is the safest area for the king. Follow up from here, h4. Now, this here is a struggling piece. Many white pawns get in its way. h4 plants another pawn on a dark square, but this is actually a step in the direction of one day activating the bishop. After knight c4, we have h5, so that was short-lived. Now the rook is there, controlling h4. Bishop h4, supported. This can be a really irritating diagonal for black. Okay, from here, a4. White goes with knight c1 here. Now, I wondered, why not play bishop h4 here? Seems like a consistent follow-up. You played h4, h5. This is now a new possibility. Why not hop to this diagonal? Well, if bishop h4, there is queen a5. If this bishop tries to be a pest to the rook, the bishop is officially now all in as an aggressor. It's not going to be around to secure the king. Any of the dark squares. What's nearby for black is queen b4. How are you handling the pressure on b2? If you have to play b3, the rook would spring to life. So you might want to be a little bit careful about quickly activating this bishop on the diagonal, posting on f6, in short. What's the play in this game? It's knight c1. The evaluation here is about equal. With Carlsen's next move, c5, it jumps up to about plus 0.7. I believe the quick train of thought is, you know what, let me sneak in c5, exchange my backward pawn for this center pawn before there's this sort of grip over that c5 square. I believe black is also saying, I'm okay allowing this file to become half opened. d5 is secure enough. Here's how the computer wants to play it. It has its eye on bishop e7, cuts out bishop h4 move. Let's say the knight improves here. These are the moves it has its eye on from here for black. b4, queen b6, maybe b3, maybe a3. I've even also seen king d7 to connect rooks there. Okay, how it is played here, c5. Now, why do we see that evaluation shift slightly now in white's favor? Well, there's no longer a white pawn on d4. What this means, there's a new diagonal for the bishop. It becomes more likely that this very exchange occurs. Follow up knight d3. Bishop e3 is played here. Computer wants to retreat the bishop. Bishop e3 played. This supports a knight fork. But white's reaction is bishop f2. Now, I don't believe this was a mouse slip. It could be that bishop e1 was intended, but bishop f2 is fine. It does say bishop e1 is top, and not necessarily for the following reason, to prevent knight d2. We'll see that knight d2 is in fact a blunder. Bishop e1 has an eye on this square. I pointed out this diagonal, this one's looking pretty good as well. Now, in the game, we have bishop f2. Queen b6 is the response. What would happen if knight d2 is played? We would see an exchange sacrifice, and white here is winning. Cool follow-up here, back-to-back moves, bishop h4, activate the bishop, and after the queen moves, the queen takes a step back to g2, targeting the bishop, and you might as well say targeting g7. This is lost. Let's say the bishop goes to e3 here. You can't tame this piece. What are you doing about the rook? You gonna move the king? f7 falls? How are you saving the rook? Rook f8? Get started advancing this pawn. There's no attack on the white king. Sturdy defender here. a3, b3, nothing happening on b2. This one's over. You're not surviving this. Okay, not a good idea, in short, to go for this fork. Queen b6, bishop exchanges there, no queen exchange. White's aiming for that g7 square. From here, we have king d7, follow up knight b4. What would happen if queen g7 here? Queen g7, rook a to f8. Black is just barely there, holding things together. In this game, it is knight b4. And Carlsen's next move is king c7. Now, why isn't rook a to g8 played here? Let's have a look. If rook a to g8, there is a tactic available to white. Knight takes d5, not a winning tactic. This ends up being a drawing line. It says best is to take the knight. If rook captures queen here, we would have this fancy move. White would be winning. Collecting the queen with discovered check, hitting the rook, hitting the knight. If knight check, right back, king c1. Okay, white's going to win material shortly after knight d2 check. And if rook d2, white's going to win a piece. You remove this defender of the rook, and you're up a piece. Rook takes rook, check, and you get to save the knight next. So, what would happen after this sacrifice in this position on d5? Black would have to take on d5, allow the queen to go on a rampage here, collecting pawns. It calls this equal. Okay, that's a possibility if Carlsen activated his rook. One other move the computer is looking at here, queen to e4 to offer a queen exchange, release some pressure on d5. Okay, how it is played here, king c7, pop quiz. How would you respond here? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, Carlsen spent about 33 seconds on king c7. Calculated, I imagine, that there wasn't a winning tactic on d5, but he was mistaken. Naroditsky saw a little deeper captures on d5 with the rook. Now, both players certainly saw this follow-up idea of a fork. What was Carlsen prepared to play in response to this? Well, moving the game, rook a to g8. One more pop quiz. What move would you play here? Feel free to pause the video. Okay. Rook d7 is played here. This is what Carlsen must have missed. A rook sacrifice, and this will lead straight to mate. Now, if the queen reacts to this threat, let's say goes to f1, knight d2 would not be a winner. White would be winning after knight d2. Rook takes knight, queen takes rook, queen takes b5 is there. The queen and knight are going to get at the king who's lacking defense. There would be a winning shot for black in this position. Really neat tactic here. Rook captures h5, deflecting the rook from the back rank. Rook takes rook. Rook g1 is their pin and win of the queen. Okay, the winning way is to meet rook a to g8 with rook d7 check. Now what? The king has 4 options. In the game, takes the rook. Regardless of where the king goes, the move is the same. Queen b7 next. If king c8, king b8, queen b7 is mate. If the king goes to b6, queen b7 check, and we would have an aesthetic finish here. King a5 or c5, 2 options. King a5, knight c6 is mate. And if the king goes in the other direction, the knight goes in the other direction. Knight a6 for mate. Okay, how it is played out in this one, we see king takes rook, queen b7 check, king goes to e8 here. The other option, d8, we would see knight c6 check, and then you would have your pick, queen c8 or e8 for mate. Okay, Carlsen stays out of reach of the knight, but in this position there is now queen c8 check. Only move is king e7, and knight c6 is checkmate. This was a really nice game. I know it's only blitz, but there's still a lot to take away, especially with these guys here playing at this high level. Anyhow, your thoughts with this one? Feel free as usual to leave any feedback to this video in the comments section below. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe took a thing or two away. That's all for now. Take care.